Hi everyone, and welcome to the 5th lesson of the Human Resource Management in Healthcare course. Okay, so today in this lesson, we are going to be going over recruitment, selection, and retention. Okay, we're going to be looking at different methods you can use in the recruitment process. We're going to be looking at how you may collect data from the recruitment process so that you can better use, or you can create a better recruitment process for your company in the future, one that may actually benefit you a little bit more and help you be able to find better high-performing employees or applicants. Okay, we're also going to be going through how to select the right employee, the right fit for your organization, and then we're going to go over what turnover and retention is, and some methods you can use to retain your best employees. Okay, so let's dive right in. First of all, recruitment refers to the methods organizations use to attract qualified individuals on a timely basis and in sufficient numbers, and to encourage them to apply for jobs. So what does that mean? It means this is the stuff. This is you finding some kind of clever way to get out your job posting, to attract different qualified applicants to want to apply for your job. Okay, so that you can go ahead and go through your different applicants and find the right fit for your company. Okay, so some key decisions you may use in the recruiting process would be, should we promote from within, or should we promote from without, or outside of the organization, or so should we? And there are different benefits and or different advantages and disadvantages that are associated with promoting someone from within or hiring someone that are in the outside environment from the organization. Okay, then also should you use alternatives to full-time employees? Okay, should you outsource jobs or work? Should you hire maybe independent contractors or things like that? Do you just need specific jobs to get done and you don't really need anyone to actually be part of your organization and part of your culture? Or do you really need someone to be, invested in the job and the culture and the organization? So that's a question that you do need to ask, because sometimes an organization it may not actually be necessary for you to have the person who's going to complete this particular job. You don't need to have them part of your organization's family. They don't have to be invested into your organization. They don't have to have some kind of autonomy over their position here. You can just outsource that particular job, or hire like an independent contractor. Okay, an independent contractor isn't really going to be actually invested in your company, because they're probably working for many other companies doing that particular job, for other people, for other organizations. Okay, these people are independent. They do jobs for other organizations, and so they may not be fully. They may not feel like they are one, with the company and the company culture and all that, right? Also, you may want to consider whether or not you want to use some sort of flexible staffing. Okay, remember in the last lesson we talked about different flexible staffing methods that you can use. Okay, like you can condense the work days. You can allow employees to vary their start and ending times throughout the day. All right, so there are other different methods you can use. So you kind of need to determine what type of employee do you need? How often do you need them to come? How invested should they be in your organization? Okay, is it necessary that they're part of your organization's culture, or is it not really that big of a deal? You just need a job to get done. Okay. Anyway, moving forward. So, factors that influence job choice. Now we're looking at it from another perspective, from the employee's perspective. So what gets an employee, and why is this even important? This is important because this is going to help you figure out how you're going to attract the best employees for your organization. So you need to know what makes your employees tick. What do they want? What do they want from you as an employer? Okay, so here are some factors that would influence other people in their job choice. So this is what would determine whether or not they even want to work for you. All right, so individual characteristics and preferences. So everyone's going to kind of have something different going on in their life and have different preferences, and it's just a matter of, you know, us being human, and we're also different and diverse, and we like, you know, we have different opinions, and different things make us comfortable and happy. So some people just might not like your vibe, your thing, okay, and some people might love it, right? Also, vacancy characteristics such as salary, benefits, opportunity for advancement, things like that. So if people know that this particular company gives out like really huge salaries, or they have a great benefits package, or they have a terrible benefits package, and you want to stay away from that organization, or however that is, this is going to influence whether or not someone wants to work for you. Okay, so people usually kind of know, especially the internet, it gives everyone so much information on all these different companies, so you can kind of get an idea of what it's going to be if you work for a particular company. So if a company gave you an offer and you're like, great, wow, I got a job, but then you're like, hold on, is this really what I want? So you may want to go online and kind of look and see, like, do they really pay well? Do they have great benefits? Do they how does upward mobility look like? You know, can you advance in this organization? Are you going to become a manager for them one day? You know, so those are different factors that may be very important for some people, and some people it might not be important. Okay, so also the challenge and the responsibility in the job. Okay, a lot of people out there really look forward to having a challenge. They want to feel like they have purpose in their job. They want to feel like their job is meaningful, because they're going to spend most of their day here. So they want that challenge, they want responsibility, they want prestige, they want, you know, something that they can show off, something that'll make them feel important. And so if you can kind of show them that, or give them that, be like, this is a very important position, that may turn a lot of people on. However, some people don't want that, because some people run away from responsibility, and that's them. So, you know, do you want the kind of person that loves challenge, or do you want the kind of person that's going to run away from challenge? Okay, so these are some factors to keep in mind when you're starting the recruiting process. What kind of stuff do you want to put in a job posting? Do you want to attract certain people that love challenge and responsibility, or do you want to attract people that don't care, that actually don't want any kind of responsibility? You know what I mean? And there's job security, which is actually very important, especially for jobs that are like career jobs. Okay, jobs where you kind of you want people who are going to stay for a long time. Okay, these type of jobs, especially, you want to make sure that you show them that there's job security here. Like, you can build your life with us. Okay, job security. And a lot of people, this is so important. Some people couldn't care less because they don't plan on being in one place for their whole life anyway. So it really just depends on the person. Anyway, geographic location and employee lifestyle concerns. This is also very important. Everyone has their own lifestyle. Some people want to be able to incorporate their job life into their lifestyle, especially a lot of younger people, a lot of millennials that are out there in the job, in the workforce. Their lifestyle is so important to them, and if this job is going to conflict with their lifestyle, they're not going to want it. Okay. Also, geographic location. A lot of people are worried about, okay, is this in an area where there's a lot of opportunity? Am I going to be able to move around a lot? Is it in an area that's close to where I live? Okay, or do I have to move somewhere? Maybe I want to move somewhere. Maybe I don't want to move anywhere because I have my house and my family here, so I need to stay here, and it has to be close enough for me to commute. So these are all different things that people have to keep in mind. Organizational culture And this goes a lot with the HR brand of that particular organization. Do you have like a great organizational culture that fosters like, well-being and psychological safety and diversity, inclusion, things like that? Do you have an organizational culture that's terrible and everyone hates everybody and there's no workflow and just like everything's just, not efficient at all? Okay, and then there are other factors that people keep in mind, like travel requirements. Some people love to have jobs that make them travel. Okay, that's their life, that's their world. They look for jobs that force them to travel, that will pay for their travel because that's what they want. They want to go everywhere. There are people out there who are like, no way in heck am I going to travel because I have a family, I have responsibility here. So everyone's a little bit different. But when you are figuring out exactly what type of individual you want to attract, you want to recruit to apply to your job, you have to keep these kind of things in mind. Okay, do you want someone who wants to like travel? Because you're going to have to send them out traveling. You definitely want to put that in your job description. Okay, do you want someone who pays attention to organizational culture? Because then you definitely want to flaunt your organizational culture because you're so positive in your organization, and you want people who are a good fit for your organizational culture. Okay, so these are things you have to keep in mind, right? Let's move on. So, wait, can I move this? No, I can't. All right. So let's see. Key recruitment data. It's as you're going through your whole recruitment process, it's so important for you to hold on to that recruitment data, okay? Because you're going to definitely use this in the future. You're going to use this, this is going to help make your recruitment process that much more efficient because you're going to be able to know exactly which recruitment processes actually work and help you find the best employees for your organization, okay? The reason why this is so important is because there's so much energy, time, and money that goes in to finding new applicants and the selection process, and then retaining these employees, and also training as well. Okay, so you don't want to have to do this so often. You want to be able to find your high-performing employees, and you want them to stay here, and you want to keep training them and have them grow with your organization, and just the sky's the limit, all that, right? So if you've already been recruiting employees in the past, hopefully you've kept all of that data, all of that information, because that will give you your yield ratios, like how many applicants that applied, with all of your recruitment sourcing, with all your recruitment processing and everything, how many have actually made it to the selection process, and after the selection process, how many actually made it to hiring, okay? You'll want to keep in mind what the cost was of the whole thing, like how much did this whole entire process cost, okay, to get us to the point where we finally had our employee, our star employee, we're ready to go, we're working. Okay, you want to keep in mind the cost per applicant. Okay, that's a good one. How much money on average did it cost you to receive each applicant? Okay, so that way you'll know in the future how much money it's going to require for you throughout the whole hiring process to get, that employee, that particular employee that suits your organization and that job so well. And also cost per hire. How much money did you put through to get each hire that you're able to get throughout this whole process? Okay. Moving forward. Okay, so this is the measuring recruitment effectiveness and efficiency. This is where we are able to take, these are different measurements that we can keep track of throughout the whole recruitment and selection process to the point of hiring, from the point where we post our job posting and then to the point where we actually hire the employees. Keeping track of all these different measurements is going to help us make that whole process even more effective and more efficient in the future. Okay, so some things that we should look at would be the cost per hire. This would include the expenses on advertising for this job, the agencies, the recruiting agencies that you pay to try to find your applicants, the recruitment fairs, those job fairs that organizations will go to. Typically, you have to pay an entrance fee. You have to pay a certain amount of money for you to set up a booth there, right? And then, of course, background checks cost money. Health screenings cost money. Orientation and training, that is all money. So that is all, put that all into the cost per hire, okay? Next, we have the application rate. Okay, so all of the qualified applications per posting. This is what you're gonna consider all the qualified applicants, the ones that you actually consider for each different posting that you put out there. So like on Indeed, on Monster, on LinkedIn, or whatever you do, keep track of how many qualified applicants are coming from those different postings, from those different platforms, right? And then the time to hire. So this is the time between the job requisition, like when you decided that you need this, this job, right? And you put out postings to the point where you actually hire the new applicant. Okay, so how long does it take you throughout this process to find the right hire? The recruitment source effectiveness. This offers, or the offers by recruitment sources, and then hires by recruitment agencies and things like that. So how effective were all these different sources? After everything is all said and done, how effective, like how many applicants or how many, qualified applicants did you receive from like each different source? Okay, and then look at recruiter effectiveness. Okay, so who's actually handling all this? Usually in an organization, you're going to have a specific manager, like recruiter or something like that, who's actually going to look for the new hire for this position, right? Well, you want to consider the response time, the time it took to fill this position, and the acceptance rate of which you were able to hire. Okay. All right, so now we're going to look at whether or not it's beneficial for an organization to hire within the organization or hire without, or like, from the outside environment. So internal recruitment is when you hire from within your organization. There are advantages and disadvantages to this. So let's go over some advantages. So first of all, it can improve employee morale. All right. So if everyone sees in your organization or your department, if they all see that, like, you're hiring from within, then they all know that like one day they have a chance to move up as well. Okay, so that is going to improve employee morale, because that might incentivize employees to work harder or become, develop leadership skills, or even just develop their skills in general. They're gonna try to do better for your organization, and that's good, right? Also, it's going to permit easier assessment of applicants, because it's so much easier when you're assessing applicants that you already know. Okay, you already know these guys, right? They already work in your organization. You already have their background information. You know their work history. You know all of that already. You know how well they can do on a job. Okay, and it's going to lower, or it might be faster, and it's going to lower the cost of the whole recruiting process. Why is it going to lower the cost? Well, because you don't have to you don't have to go through all these different recruiting platforms and agencies and things like that. So you don't have to put a lot of money into all of that, because you're looking for the employees that are right there in front of you. Okay, and it's also probably going to be a whole lot faster, because you can just tell everyone, hey, we're hiring. Who wants this? Who wants to apply for this job? And then you can receive applications a whole lot faster. So faster process overall. It can also be a very good motivator for performance, which we already kind of went over. It's going to improve employee morale. The applicants are more knowledgeable about the organization, which is great. Because usually when there's a new hire in an organization, they have to go through this whole like socializing process, and they have to integrate themselves within the organization. They're gonna have to learn about the culture, and it's gonna take a while for them to just adjust, right? Well, if you're already in the organization, there's no adjustment process. It's just kind of adjusting to that new job and some of your new duties that you're gonna be doing, but it's not a whole lot of adjustment. So they already know about the organization, they're already part of the culture, it's fine. It also may reinforce an employee's sense of job security. So your employees may feel like, yes, I'm home, I'm safe here, I'm good, you know? So let's look at some disadvantages now. All right, so now we're at the disadvantage section. There may be possible morale problems for the applicants who don't get hired. The thing is, everyone's working there. Okay, so there may be a ton of different applicants from the same department, and you're gonna choose one, right? One of them gets to move up. So the people who don't get it could be mad. Okay, so it might create some problems there. And you have to work with them now. You have to just deal with it. So that can happen. It can also lead to inbreeding. And what inbreeding is in the workplace is when there's just, it refers to like the ideas and everything that you offer to an organization. Okay? When you've been working in an organization for a while, your ideas and your mentality, it kind of adjusts, and it sort of, in a way, like you guys collectively start to think the same. Okay, so eventually you guys all adjust to each other, and you're almost just like vibing off of each other, and you think the same things. Not really, but like you kind of do in a way. So you're not, at a certain point, you're not necessarily adding anything extra to an organization. Nothing new. You're not bringing anything new. So if you're only hiring from within an organization, if you do this too much, you're never going to be bringing anything fresh into the organization. So you're not bringing fresh ideas and new stuff and all that. It's just all the same stuff, right? Same people, same stuff, same ideas going around. Also, it may require strong management development. So if you're moving someone to a higher level, like a team leader position, management position, supervisor, whatever, and this employee came from, like maybe an entry-level position or somewhere, in the bottom, you're going to have to invest in some time and some money into this employee and get them to develop their management skills. Okay, versus hiring someone who already has management skills. Okay, so you may actually spend money on them in this process. And then next, it can manifest the Peter Principle. So what the Peter Principle is basically, if you keep promoting people from within, like let's say there's this one employee, he started with this company from the bottom, now he's here, right? And so he was able to move up. Maybe he's able to move up to like the highest level that he can ever qualify for. But at this point, he's kind of exhausted all of his skills. Okay, he's not adding anything new. And actually at this point, when he went up to this level, he's now incompetent. Okay, so he's incompetent for this particular position, and now everyone below him is going to suffer. So all the employees below this person, they're now under terrible direction or, whatever. And it's all because this person you had to move that, employee and kept letting them go up to a point where they capped off at all their skills. Their competency is not where it needs to be for that position, and now it's hurting the organization. Okay, so that's the Peter Principle. Now, Next is it could cause a ripple effect in vacancies. Because if you keep hiring from within the organization, you're going to have vacancies like all over the place. Like let's say here's a vacancy, this is a manager position, right? And then you move this employee to this position. Okay, so now that employee has that position. Now this position over here, now this is vacant. So, but you like to hire people from within. So now this employee over here gets to have this job. Okay, so now it's not vacant anymore. This employee has the job. But now this, they left a vacancy over here. So now, since there's a vacancy of a position right here, and since you like to hire from within, you're going to hire this other employee right here, and they get to have that job. Okay, so now there's a vacancy here. Okay, and so every time you hire someone from within, there's always going to be a vacancy left. Okay, so you could cause a ripple effect on your vacancies, and then the work doesn't get done, and the jobs don't get filled. Okay, so disadvantages and advantages of external recruitment. So when we hire from outside of the organization. Okay, so first let's look at the advantages of hiring from the external environment. All right, so advantages starts now. Advantages. Okay, so first of all, when you hire someone from the external environment, they're going to bring in new ideas into your organization. So fresh, new ideas, and it's going to be great. You're going to learn new things, and new things are going to happen, and it's really cool. Secondly, it can be actually less expensive in terms of training than it would be for internal applicants. Because remember, internal applicants, they might not have like the necessary skills like for management and things like that. So you're going to have to train them on their management skills, right? But an external applicant, they might have all the managerial experiences. They might be certified in certain managerial things and all of that. And they're bringing that to your organization. So they probably don't need training or very little training, and it's going to be less expensive if that's the case. Okay. Next, we have external applicants do not have dysfunctional relationships in the organization. Okay, I don't know about you guys. Well, I'm pretty sure some of you have experienced this, but a lot of organizations out there like to form cliques. It's kind of like how they do in high school. Okay, where everyone has like their friend groups, and you kind of form cliques all over the place. And what can happen is within these cliques, there might be negative energy. Okay, so people might be talking crap about the people of this, section, this group, and then this group, and then, when you do that, it creates a lot of dysfunction, a lot of inefficiencies in your organization. Okay, so what I'm saying is, external applicants are fresh. They don't have these dysfunctional relationships, at least not yet. They're not part of that. So you're starting fresh, and you're developing those employees fresh, and they might not even, have that problem in your organization. Okay, so that's good. They're going to start on an efficient, fresh note. Now let's look at the disadvantages of external recruitment. So first of all, it can cause morale problems for those internal applicants that didn't get selected. So the internal applicants who apply for the same positions, they might get really mad that you chose someone outside of the organization versus them. And then that's going to in turn make them feel like, oh, I don't need to be loyal to you because you ain't going to be loyal to me. Okay, that can happen. Next, reliable information about applicants, external applicants, may be difficult to obtain. Okay, because the thing is, things like references and stuff like that, it's kind of actually not really reliable. Okay, and to find like the perfect fit for your organization, it can be really hard, and sometimes you don't get the right one. Many times you actually are not able to get the right employee for your organization, and you kind of have to sift through a couple of different hires before you get the one that sticks. Sometimes that happens, especially when you hire externally, okay? Because it is rather difficult for you to obtain very reliable information that can give you some insight as to whether this person is really the right fit, okay? So anyway, next up we have, it may identify applicants with technical skills but lacking in fit with the organization, which is definitely true. So maybe it's actually quite easy for you to kind of at least check all their technical skills. You know they have this degree, you know they have this skill, you know they have a certain certification, you know they can do certain things, but are they really going to be a good fit with the organization? Are they going to fit in with the culture? Are, you know, things like that. And especially if that's very important for your organization, it's hard to figure out, it's hard to really know if they would be a good fit. Secondly, it may require like a longer adjustment period. Okay, this one right here. I know you can barely see it because my face is in the way, but that's basically what this is gonna tell you. So it requires like a longer adjustment period, and of course it is, because these people are just coming from outside and they have to take the time to adjust, become socialized, make their friends in the organization. They have to like get adjusted to the culture and how things work, and it's going to take a lot longer for them to do that as opposed to people who are already part of the organization and know all this. Okay. All right, so now we are at the selection process. Okay, so in the selection process, 2 things that you should consider. All right. So what is actually necessary when you try to figure out who you want to work for your organization? Is having a person job fit your priority, or a person organization fit, or is it going to be a combination of both? So what do we mean by this? If it's a person job fit, that means the applicant, would have the technical requirements to do the job. Okay, they have all the technical requirements to fit that particular job. Like they have the education, they have the certifications, they did the training, they have those skills, you know they have certain particular skills for that specific job. Okay, that's a person job fit. Person organization fit is whether or not the applicant shares the same values, the culture, the attitudes of that organization. So if you can kind of get a sense of like if they kind of identify with certain values that your organization has, then that might make them a person, you know, a great person job fit. When you're going through your selection process, you may want to steer either way, or you may want a good combination of both. It's really up to you and what you're looking for your organization and what's most important. But you, technically, when you started your job analysis and job design, you figured all this out, okay? You already figured out what's most important when you were going to go through your selection process. So, you know, like I said, it's going to be either or it's going to be a combination of both is what you're looking for when you go through your selection process. Now, how do we select an employee or an applicant to hire? There are a variety of different selection tools that you can use. So we'll just kind of like mention a couple. The book gives you a better description of all these different ones, so definitely look those up, or you can Google a lot of these if you're very interested. We are not going to get too much into detail, but it would be great if we kind of go over some of these important things. So, first of all, reference checks. Not really reliable. I'm just going to say that right now. Why is it not reliable? Because you can easily tell your friend to act like they are your ex-employer and they're going to say all these great things about you when your new potential hiring recruitment officer calls them. Okay, so a lot of this can just be made up, your reference checks. In my opinion, we have to find a completely better way to do this. Reference checks, in my opinion, I think they're more of a formality, and they're almost kind of there to scare the applicants into complying with certain things, because reference checks really they're not very reliable. They don't really tell you too much or anything about the applicant. Okay. Job interviews. This is actually pretty good. And there are different types of job interviews that you can have. Okay, that you can go ahead and do. Hang on one second. Okay, so what is a structured job interview? That is when, structured job interviews are typically used for those types of jobs where it would actually be necessary for the company to know if you can do these particular tasks, okay? Where the particular task is very detail oriented, precision is important, okay? So structured interviews would be where they actually have a set of structured questions, and they're going to ask you those questions, and then you have to, give an appropriate formal answer to everything. Okay, some examples of jobs that would require a structured interview might be like accountants. Okay, you got to know if they know the laws and they know math and things like that, right? Also, a physician interview would definitely be important. You got to know that they can perform certain things and all that, right? Then we have unstructured interviews. So unstructured interviews are where they ask open-ended questions, and then the applicant can answer, in their way. It's in a more of like a casual fashion. And then the interviewer will kind of go off of that. So they ask an open-ended question, the applicant will give their answer, and then the interviewer will take whatever they, answered, whatever was in their answer, and then they'll ask more questions to build off of that. And it's almost like they're having just a conversation, okay? They're just kind of getting to know the applicant. And unstructured interviews are actually really good if you're an organization that cares mostly about organization fit. Okay, structured interviews are really good if you care a lot about person job fit, if you need to know that they have the technical requirements to do this job. Okay, so there's that. All right, so let's look at some different types of questions. So we have situational questions, and then we have experience-based questions. What are situational questions? These are the types of questions where the interviewer will ask like hypothetical questions about maybe certain scenarios that they could hypothetically experience on the job. Okay, and then they would just want to know what their response is, like how they would handle that situation. Like, what would you do if such and such and this happened and then this happened? How would you react, or how would you handle this situation? And then, of course, the applicant will give how they would handle the situation, and then they take notes and figure, they use that to determine if this is the right fit for the job. Then we have experience-based questions. These questions are actually based on the applicant's actual experience on the job. So an example of this type of a question might be where they ask, can you tell me about a time when this and this happened, and how did you handle it? Okay, so something like that. All right, so some other selection tools that you can use are applications and resumes, and that's pretty much standard across, like, almost every single job out there will have this type of a selection tool. Most companies, most organizations will use various different selection tools to actually figure out who is the right hire. So throughout the selection process, they're going to have a couple of different tools that they use. Okay, and typically a lot of it will be the application and resume and then the interview, but it could be more and it could be less. All right, so next we'll have the ability and aptitude tests. I don't know if any of you have taken these. I bet some of you have. Okay, and I know that they do a lot of these ability and aptitude tests for when you apply for like leadership positions and managerial positions. Okay, so an ability and aptitude test are those type of tests where they'll like ask a question like, in your experience or in your opinion about yourself, like how's it's like where you have to rate yourself like on whether you strongly agree or like strongly disagree, and then there's like the middle of it, and the questions will be like, I make decisions easily, okay, or I work really well under stress, or something like that, you know, and then you just sort of have to rate yourself on on where you rank in that. Okay, spoiler alert, if you are applying for a managerial position, what you should always do is steer to the like strongly agree end or the strongly disagree end of all of it. Do not be neutral. Okay, they don't want to see neutral because those are the people who don't necessarily become leaders or don't really become, you know, the managers of the situation. So they usually want to see people who are like, yes, I am fully confident in myself. You know what I mean? So you definitely, in the future, just for future reference, if you have those tests, you definitely want to steer towards the strongly agree, strongly disagree type of answers to all of those. Anyway, moving on. There are also assessment centers. Okay, these assessment centers will create simulations of real life scenarios, and then the test will be like, here's the scenario, and then you as the applicant have to work on that, have to react. Okay, so what they do this a lot with healthcare workers, especially like nurses and whatnot, and surgeons and things like that. So you go to an assessment center, they may have like a total simulation of some sort of, you know, maybe like an ER situation of like a patient who's going unstable, and they want to see exactly how you will respond to that patient when they are unstable. Okay, and then that's your test. Okay. Next, we have nurse retention and effective strategies. So reason, like I said this before, we will always be focusing on nurses. Nurses are they're always going to be the example in this class. We always turn to nurses because they are so important in healthcare, and they're endangered. Okay, they're like an endangered species. We don't have enough. Okay, we do not have enough nurses, and so like every hospital and every organization, they always experience really high turnover rates with their nurses. Okay, turnover means, I know I've said this before, turnover is when you constantly have people leaving your organization and then having to hire more, and then you have people leaving your organization and then you hire more and then they leave. So it's like the rate at which people are leaving your organization. Okay, so if you have a high turnover rate, that means you have a lot of people that are constantly like being hired and then they leave. Hired and then they quit. Hire and then they quit. Okay, so nurse retention. How do we keep our nurses in our health organizations? First up, you have to make sure that you select the right employees. Don't just hire any nurse just because you need a nurse. Okay, because that nurse might leave first chance they get. Okay, because they might not like whatever's going on here. They might not want to be here. They might not like the environment. Whatever. You have to hire the right one for the job. Okay, that's key right there. All right, so secondly, you want to make sure you improve your orientation and onboarding process. Okay, make sure you, when you get new nurses in, hook them up with some friend nurses to help show them the ropes and take them around. Also, you want to make sure that you are able to provide your nurses with plenty of information on, you know, their rights and their benefits package, like everything that they get. Okay, all their perks of their job and all that. And you definitely want to just make their transition into working for this organization very nice and smooth. Okay. Then you need to also monitor your turnover so that you can identify root causes. So if you have particular departments in your organization that are experiencing high turnover, especially higher turnover than normal, okay, then it might not be the nurses, okay, it might be something else. Something else is going on in that department, and you need to figure out what the root cause is of that so that you can fix it, and then you can start retaining your nurses, okay? Many times it could just be management. Anyway, so moving forward, you need to develop and implement strategies to retain your highly valued employees. Give them more perks, okay? Make sure they're able to take breaks when they need to take breaks, okay? Give them the respect that they need and that they deserve, okay? Also, you need to attempt to reverse decisions to leave. So when you know that there is a nurse in your organization who is trying to get out of here, they don't want to work for you anymore, you need to figure out exactly what's the reason for this, okay? And try to see if you can incentivize them to stay. Okay? So, some more nurse retention. First of all, you should have competitive compensation. Because nurses have options, man. They can go anywhere. Everyone's hiring nurses, okay? So they can go all over the place. Why would they work for you? Why should they stick with you? They can go somewhere else if you're not paying them well. So have competitive compensation, okay? Also have well-structured jobs with sufficient autonomy and flexibility. Give your nurses the autonomy that they deserve in their profession. Okay, there are so many nurses out there, including my husband, who has had experience where they have just been pushed down, okay? They've been undermined. People have been condescending to them. People who might be like the nurse, like a director of nursing or a physician or anyone like that, treating the nurses terribly and not giving them enough autonomy within their job. These are professionals. They know what they're doing. You need to allow and make sure that they have sufficient autonomy and flexibility with what they are supposed to be able to do. Okay. Also, have strong and effective management and supervisors. Many times when there is an issue with turnover, it's probably the supervisors, the management. Many times it is. I don't know why, but sometimes people like to flex their leadership. They like to flex their authority. And they do that. They love to do that to people who are highly qualified, okay, because it makes them feel more powerful. A lot of people get power hungry in that way. So you need to make sure that your leadership is top-notch, okay? Also, offer career growth opportunities to your nurses and everyone else who works in your organization. Everyone wants to move up and advance in life, okay? And if you have a nurse working for you for years, they deserve to move forward, okay? So have opportunities for growth, okay? The magnet recognition program is an actual program that many hospitals have, and this program, they have a lot of tactics and things that they do to help keep their nurses happy, help keep them satisfied with their job, and help keep them moving up in their career and everything like that. So they do experience low turnover, okay, high retention in these particular hospitals. Okay, now we're going to look at international recruitment and migration. So, two main concepts we need to look at within international recruitment and migration. So what makes an individual leave their country to go work in another country? Why do people do that? Well, there are push factors, right? And then there are pull factors, okay? So a push factor is a factor that causes someone to want to just leave their country to go work somewhere else. It pushes people out of their country, okay? Pushes people away from wanting to work in their country, Okay, so what are these push factors? Low pay. No one likes to not get paid well, especially when you're a highly qualified professional. Okay, so low pay, poor working conditions, political instability and insecurity, inadequate housing and social services are all key push factors. Want to get people out of that country. And then lack of professional development. Okay, anytime you have things like this, or even something else that you can think of that would cause a human being to want to leave their home and their country and go work somewhere else, that is a push factor. Okay, now a pull factor is something that pulls people closer. Okay, pulls people into your country and makes them want to work in your country, pulling them. Okay, so what are those pull factors? We have professional training. Okay, so there's the, better job opportunities. So professional training, if you have a lot of great professional training available in facilities in another country, you're definitely going to want to go there because you have a lot more opportunity. You have job opportunity, you get to move up, you get to develop your career even more. That's great, okay? Safety is so important. Physical, psychological safety. Okay, safety is just alone is a big deal. Okay, that will definitely draw people closer. People leave countries, people leave their homes when they're not safe, when their safety is threatened. Okay, so safety is huge. Also, higher wages. Okay, you want a better life for you, yourself, your family. You want to kind of move on up. And better working conditions. These are all very important pull factors that would cause someone to that would pull people from other countries and get them to work in this country or any other country. Okay, so international recruitment has a lot of important ethical implications, and including that would be like brain drain and brain gain. Okay, so brain drain, that is when people leave their country. Okay, so when people leave your country is now experiencing a brain drain. When highly qualified professionals leave, you're experiencing a brain drain in your country. Okay, you're losing a bunch of intelligent, qualified professionals that could make your country great and could be helping your people, but they're leaving. Okay, that's a brain drain. And brain gain are the countries that gain those highly qualified individuals. Okay, so that's the end of this lesson, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. If you have any questions about any of these concepts, please feel free to leave a comment and also email me. Okay, and I will see you on the next lesson.